To every generation, a slayer is born. Hello, heathens! Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming back. If you're a regular viewer, it's my favourite time of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It is spooky season time. So I just couldn't wait to do a spooky season video. I've been doing lots of fall recs, and I've been reading lots of fall related books, mainly Dark Academia, because that's just it. It's back to school season, right? That just is what screams fall to me. But I was like, I need to do my first proper spooky video, because as I'm filming this in a couple of days, it is the actual equinox, and it is actually officially fall. So spooky season starts. I also thought it would be fun to, I'm going to do a lot of videos, but I thought it would be fun to do almost like a beginner's guide. So my version of my beginner's guide, if you want to read like me, if you want to be a weird spooky person all year round like I am, because, you know, spook is for life, not just for Halloween. So I just thought I would talk about the things that I love, the things that are just some of my favourites of the season, and then I'll be doing more specific videos and doing certain topics. I've just looked around. I basically decimated my bookshelves and pulled all of my kind of favourite spooky books from different genres off the shelves. There are a lot of books, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on all of these. I'm just going to kind of name them and give you like a general idea. I've probably talked about these before anyway, and they're probably going to be in more videos, so I won't go too into detail. But I also thought it would be fun, seeing as this is the beginner's guide to spooky season, to talk about not only books, but other things that I enjoy in the season. So one of the things that I really love is actually kind of, when the weather gets cold, is kind of cozying up and watching something. Now, I don't own a TV.
I love you're not quite as powerful as you once were, are you? Oh, they're not my fault.
Yes, I know. I stopped because I said that to my colleague at work and they dropped their coffee. I mean, I don't think that's too weird. I think a lot of people don't have TVs now. Anyway, I don't have a TV. I don't watch a lot of TV. I will go to the cinema, or if I really want to watch something, I'll just watch it on my phone, on my Prime account. But other than that, I do have some favorites though that I kind of rewatch that I love. And I was just talking to somebody the other day saying that it's really funny. Some of my favorite like films and series that I've loved for years, I've probably bought them like 5 or 6 times over, because I've had them kind of on every format, you know, whether it was like watching it on TV or watching it when it got released at the cinema, then getting a VHS, then getting a DVD, then getting it as a digital download. I was like, I've paid for this damn thing 5 times already. So, you know, it's one of those where there are some things that I just keep coming back to. So one of those, and I think if you, especially in this transitional time, and you want to go from kind of that, you still want to go for that cozy fall vibe and then into something that's a little bit more spooky, and you don't like the horror, I would just eat Practical Magic. I mean, if you haven't watched Practical Magic, out. Don't leave. Stay, please. But if you haven't watched it, I recommend it. It's amazing. They are actually going to do a sequel. Don't know how I feel about that, but the original film, Practical Magic, Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman, slay. The book series by Alice Hoffman, or the book Practical Magic, there's actually 4 books in the series now, but that the film is based on, is also fantastic. I will say, as someone who enjoys both and has watched both multiple times, the book and the film, they're different. Do not expect what you see, because I think most people have watched the film, don't expect that in the book. Enjoy them both as, I would say, kind of different entities. That's just my opinion, and feel free to disagree with me. But it's wonderful, it's sensational. If you then want to move into more darker, which is The Craft. The Craft is another no-brainer. If you have not watched The Craft, and also everybody's kind of into sort of the 90s and into that feel at the moment, and into sort of the 90s fashion and the 90s films. The Craft, not the reboot. That was awful. The original, young Neve Campbell, Fariza Bullock, I think is her name. She's incredible, who plays Nancy. And that film is just everything about it. Also, the 2 soundtracks, if you want to listen to some music to kind of get you into the season. The soundtrack to Practical Magic, the soundtrack to The Craft, the soundtrack to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because again, if you want to move more into vampires, even more spook, you have to watch Buffy. If you haven't watched Buffy, it is the greatest show ever made. Fight me. And do not remake that. It is just wonderful. I think another, if you're into that 90s mood, Charmed. The Power of Three. Charmed is a wonderful, wonderful show. Wonderful witch show. It's got family. It's more cozy witchy. And then Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the original show. Very 90s. Very fun. Very silly, funny, goofy, kind of spooky. However, controversially, I prefer The Chilling Adventures. Because that's just me. I like it darker. I think The Chilling Adventures is phenomenal. So I would personally recommend. I'm currently rewatching The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Riverdale is actually another series, and if you're really into kind of dark academia, there's a season, I can't remember exactly, I think season 4 or something like that, of Riverdale, that is kind of based on the secret history where Jughead goes off to this fancy prep school, and it's all very spooky and very fun. I would highly recommend that. I think also in terms of films, obviously Interview with a Vampire, also the new TV series. And then I would also recommend, in that Anne Rice universe, The Mayfair Witches. So I'm about to start season 2. I love season 1. It's based on The Witching Hour, which is the Anne Rice book. That's all about the witches. So I actually think they did a really great job with The Mayfair Witches. And then also, I think, depending on how dark you want to go, two of my favourite films of all time, hands down, are Crimson Peak and Bram Stoker's Dracula. I would absolutely recommend both of those. Those are obviously both darker. You're going into proper spooky season at that point, right? But Crimson Peak, do I have Mexican Gothic here? So Mexican Gothic, I think it's in my pile, is often kind of comped to Crimson Peak, and it's that same sort of spooky house. You marry a guy and it's weird, and he's got family secrets, and the house is potentially sentient, all of that kind of stuff. It's so beautiful visually as well. And then Bram Stoker's Dracula, again, probably controversial, but I think it's one of my favorite novelizations of Dracula. So those are just some of my kind of starter pack. In future videos, I'll go through some of my other films, maybe slightly more niche stuff or slightly more specific genres. So take a drink. Let's talk about some books. So, like I said, before we talk about books, listening, like I said, the soundtracks. I also love the band Palais Royale, and I think I've mentioned them before, but their album Fever Dream, I mean, just the cover, I'll find a picture of the cover and insert it. It just screams Halloween. It's a photo they took in Budapest, and it's just so vampiric in a lot of the videos that they do. But Fever Dream, I would listen to that album back to front. It's perfect to get you into the season. And then also My Chemical Romance's Black Parade, because I'm a MCR fan and I want a new album. If there are any My Chemical Romance fans please say so in the comments. But yeah, I think those are kind of the soundtracks to get you into it. And then obviously the further you go, my music taste gets heavier. So I love a lot of really heavy, dark kind of rock, heavy metal. So we'll talk about that a bit later. But, so, I'm just thinking, let's go from kind of lighter to darker, shall we? So, my first 3 recs here are, if you want something that is spooky, but you kind of want it fun, and you don't want it too scary if you're a bit of a scaredy cat. Now, I will preface this with, nothing has ever scared me. I am waiting for the book or the film. I lie. Silence of the Lambs, but I watched it when I was a child. Questionable parenting. That freaked me the heck out. But other than that, I don't scare easily. I really want something to scare me. So any recommendations, put them down below. But I would consider these very light, but lots and lots of fun for the season. So the first one I've just recently read, this is Cackle by Rachel Harris. This is quirky town that's perfect for Halloween. There's a Halloween party that goes on in here. We have a witch that everybody's afraid of who sounds glorious and I want to be her. A woman that moves into the town, makes friends with the witch, and then maybe, let's just say, oh man, I can't say it without giving it away, but if you don't like spiders, it may not be the book for you, but even if you don't like spiders, you may love them after you've read this. That's all I'm good. This is as good as everybody says it is. 5-star read. It's so much fun. Then, some of you may know I'm not a huge Grady Hendrix fan. Grady Hendrix and I fell out over his sort of later books. But this one was the first one I read, and I still think is the most superior book he's ever written, is My Best Friend's Exorcism. And as we were talking about shows, there is also a great, I think it's a film. Yeah, it's a film of this. So it's a lot of fun. It stays true to the source material. This is proper nostalgic. As you can see, this is like a VHS tape, also one of the best covers to a book ever. Kind of a group of girls, I think it's in the 80s, and they, one of the girls may or may not be possessed, and the other girl's like, she's my best friend, I've got to save her, no one believes that she's possessed, we're gonna perform an exorcism. What could possibly go wrong? It's wonderful. It kind of gives Stranger Things vibes as well because of that kind of time period, but it's a lot of fun. And then if you want romance, but you want it a little spooky, little spooky, I would say Romance is Dead. This is by Katie Bond. And again, I read this, I think in the summer, loved it, absolutely loved it. It is, the spookiness comes in with the fact that they are on set filming a horror film. And then people start to actually genuinely expire, which is bad. And the main actress, the lead actress, she's trying to figure out what is happening to these people, and she kind of teams up with her co-star, and there's a romance. But I really enjoyed this. Perfect. Then I've just spoken about it. We're getting a little bit darker now. A little bit. Mexican Gothic. I mean, let's just admire that cover. I had a copy of Mexican Gothic, and then I saw this on the shelves, like, I'm getting this. This is also going to be, so I read this a number of years ago, and this is going to be one of the books that I am putting in a video, and I think that video will be sort of after October, because I'm just too excited about all of my spooky TBRs at the moment. But I'm going to be rereading some of my favorite books of all time to decide whether or not I still love them, and this is going to be in that video. But Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Morena Garcia is fantastic. Her new book, The Bewitching, which is about witches, is wonderful as well. All of her books are wonderful, but those two are perfect for spooky season. But this one is about, you know, typical story. Girl meets boy, boy proposes, takes girl back to family home, which is potentially haunted and freaky, and their family is hiding all sorts of horrible secrets. So it's that, like I said, it's very Crimson Peak, but this is fantastic. This is still probably my favorite of hers. Wonderful time. It's spooky, but I personally don't think it's too dark. Then in that same vein, wonderfully Gothic is One Dark Window, Rachel Gillig. This is the one where I had to eat my words, quite literally, because the first time I read it, I just wasn't that fast, and then I reread it after reading The Moth and the Night and the Moth, and I loved it. I fall in love with the series. I've just finished book 2. The whole Shepherd King duology is so good. And this is about the use of magic here as tarot cards. So again, perfect for the season. This whole town is shrouded in this kind of mist. And these woods, if you go into the woods, the wood will get you. You've got to kind of keep talismans on you and that to keep you safe. And our main character, Elspeth, she has a voice in her head of a nightmare. Yep, the nightmare card talks to her, and I'm not gonna I was gonna say something that gives away book 2 if you haven't read book 2, but it is absolutely wonderful. It is perfect vibes, like when it's all dark and gloomy and misty. Okay, I live in the UK, so we get misty a lot, you know, typical London. It's lovely. That is perfect. Then kind of again in that more, I love a dark fairy tale, and I'll be doing a very specific dark fairy tales video, but I've got a couple of suggestions here, and this one I have just read and I cannot wait. This is pretty. I can't wait to talk about it. So you know, I'm doing a video, I might as well talk about it. This is Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher. Now, T. Kingfisher, a very beloved author. I think you could probably put most of her books in this category and read them over spooky season and you'd enjoy them, but this one is her latest release, and it's a retelling of Snow White. Okay, it's a retelling of Snow White with sort of some almost cosmic portal horror elements thrown in. The main character I loved in this. She is a woman who is actually a woman and not a teenager or in her 21. And she is kind of a proficient with poisons. So she's seen as a healer, but what she specializes in is poisons and finding cures for poisons, and she tries a lot of them on herself. She's a very quirky, fun character. I feel like she's a little bit, is not set on page, but she's almost a little bit neurodivergent, and I think it's really interesting, and I love her as a character. And basically she gets tasked by the king to come back to his castle to try and treat his daughter Snow, who seems to be suffering from a mystery illness. No one can figure out what's wrong with her. And the king thinks maybe she's being poisoned. So he asks our main character to investigate, and we go from there. There is a talking cat.
Can't change Libby, but I have worse news. I have to go to the bathroom.
So if you loved Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, yes. Then another one that I talk about quite a bit, I don't hear that many other people talk about it, and I adore this book. This is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. And I think that this is if you want something that's a little bit of a romance, because the setup here is that this whole book is told from the bridegroom. So the bridegroom is this man who marries this beautiful, enigmatic woman. She's very wealthy, she's stunning, but she's also, there's something slightly off. And you kind of get the story from his perspective, but then you kind of get the backstory of when she was a child, and her friend grew up in this incredible estate that her family owned, and they basically believed that they were fairies. And the whole thing about the descriptions of like the tea parties that they have, and even now when she's older, her kind of etherealness and like the way she lives her life, I want to live my life like that. And behind this, there's a bit of a mystery thriller element to it as well, and it's very kind of gothic in vibes. And also this house is very gothic, and you've kind of got that interesting backstory of what happened when they were kids. It is phenomenal. I feel like not enough people read that book, and I really want everybody and their uncle to read it. Then another one, I've spoken about this recently, so I won't go into too much detail, but Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is one of my favourite books. This is, again, that in the vein of a dark fairy tale of a girl that grew up in an orphanage, and then one day she gets a letter telling her to come to her family home, Gallant. However, there are very strange goings on at Gallant, and we find out that the family is cursed, and what they need to do in order to hold back this curse. It gets very dark, but is very beautifully written. I was on the edge of my bed seat while I was reading this. My kind of my heart and my throat. I adore this book. I got myself a beautiful hardback copy because I have a paperback over there as well. So it's one of my favorite books. We've got The Whispering Dead, and this is Whispering Dark. This is by Kelly Andrew. Again, not a lot of people talk about this, but this is this is like gothic, dark academia, fairy tale-esque. I mean, the blurb on the front by Cassandra Clare says a haunting, dreamlike tale of sacrifice, love, and obsession, and that just pretty much sums it up. It's odd, it's strange. It's set at a university that studies portals into other realms and like parallel universes. Really cool. Loads of magic in it, loads of darkness. The romance, this is dark romance at its best, in my opinion, and I love a professor-student romance. And on that note, Gothic Kana. And also, I treated myself to this incredibly beautiful, the artwork in this, I'm going to show this off in a video, but Gothic Kana by Runix, one of my favourite books, just one of my favourite books. And also, it has that dark academia. It's literally called Gothic Kana. It's so gothic. This kind of really haunted, gorgeous castle that doubles up as a school. Professor-student relationship here. Our professor is very dark, very brooding, very wonderful. Our main character is very witchy. There's like a thriller aspect to this as well. What's really going on at the school? Again, students are disappearing and perishing. Both of these books, delicious for gothic dark romance. And then if you want just unhinged dark romance, actually no, well, I should have done this the other way around, but if you want unhinged dark romance, Satan's Affair by H.D. Carlton. How have I talked about H.D. Carlton for 5 minutes? That is a record, because I could talk about H.D. Carlton in every video and then no one would watch these videos. But Satan's Affair by H.D. Carlton. This is a short little novella, kind of set in the world. So if you've read The Cat and Mouse Duet, Sibby, who is the main character in this, is actually in Hunting Adeline. So I would recommend, if you're going to read The Cat and Mouse Duet as well, and if you haven't read it yet, read Haunting Adeline first, then read Satan's Affair, and then read Hunting. But you can just read this on its own and enjoy it. It's just that Adeline the characters show up. Okay, there's a couple of characters that show up. They show up in this book. But this is about Sibby, who is, she works as a kind of a haunted doll in a Halloween-themed carnival. And she has this thing where she thinks she can scent evil people. And when she scents them, she gets rid of them in very graphically brutal ways. She also has her henchmen that she gets it on with, all of them, particularly after getting rid of the evil people. It's a time. I recommend it. It's great. And then I probably should have done this with the Dark Academia, but Soul to Take by Harley Daru. I adore this book. I adore this book so much I'm considering getting the special edition. I also, on my TBR for the season, is the 2 follow-up books, so I need to read them because I know I'm going to love them as much as this one. So this book is, again, perfect for the season. It has that Dark Academia element because it's set at a university town and university campus. But our main character here, she is, she moves back to this university, to her hometown to go to the university, and she is, her kind of sideline gig is she does like paranormal, like ghost videos on YouTube, like a ghost hunter, but you know, like not for real. However, she finds this a grimoire, and she does this sort of spell for one of her YouTube videos, thinking, oh, this will be great for views, you know. Turns out she summons an actual demon, and Leon is Leon is my favorite demon of all time. This is very spicy. This is very fun. There's like a mystery thriller element to this as well. There's lots of spices, lots of creative spice. And I adore Leon. I just adore this book. Some people say that the other books in the series are even better, so I have some high hopes, but it'll take a lot for me to be beaten by that one. Then, just really quickly, I touched on thriller. I'm trying to get more into thriller books because I don't have the biggest thriller repertoire, and there's some amazing creators out there that focus on thrillers. But for the spooky season, I would say Not Quite Dead by Holly Jackson. This is her latest release. I mean, Good Girls Out to Murder works as well, but this is her latest release, and I think this is so good. It's also her first adult release. This literally starts at Halloween. So, I mean, if you're going to read it, read it on Halloween. It's perfect. This is about a girl who gets attacked on Halloween. She wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor basically says to her, this has caused an aneurysm in her brain, and she will die in like 5 days. So she goes about trying to solve her own murder. And it is fantastic. I thought Holly Jackson did an amazing job. And then anything by by Simone St. James. I was going to say Sierra Simone, that's a different author. By Simone St. James, I've just picked up 2, Murder Road, Book of Cold Cases, Sundown Motel, Inquiry to Death and Love. There's so many. Like, she always puts a paranormal spin on her thrillers, which I personally love. Now, I know it's not for everybody, and that's absolutely fine. But if you like a paranormal spin on thrillers, she's fantastic, and she's one of my personal favorite thriller authors. And I want to kind of read her whole backlog. Then this probably should have been, I've got 2 more books sort of that are slightly more Dark Academia leaning, but also exorcism leaning. We've got The Exorcism of Fairies. This is by J.L. Vamper. This is a recent favorite, and this is about a plague that strikes Dublin. And our main character, she's studying botany, our main female character, and our main male character, he's the head of the, I keep forgetting what it's called, morbid anatomy department of Trinity College Dublin. And they basically are trying to figure out how to cure this plague. And as you can guess by the title, the plague may have some other elements to it, and it may just be a viral infection, or it may be something a little more sinister. It's fantastic. It's also set in the 90s in Ireland, and it is like J.L. Vamper just wrote a book for me. I mean, that's how I feel about that book. It's insane. And then another recent read, this is Strange Nature, and this is by Mary Watson. I adored this. So actually going back to thrillers, this is like an amalgamation of both of those categories, because this I thought was going to be like paranormal, and it's not actually. It is a thriller, again set on a university campus, and there's kind of a lot of twists and lies, and the slightly spooky-ish element kind of comes in with the main, like the professor in this. He has this obsession with living forever, and he is not afraid to experiment to get his way. And kids like are going missing on the campus, and this group of journalism students starts to investigate. And I thought that this book was phenomenal. I haven't heard anybody talking about this, and I highly, highly recommend it if you want a good thriller. I mean, this literally, I was reading like till the early hours of the morning. I could not. And I'm a book jumper, so I have multiple books on the go at any time. I cannot read just one book. It is rare for me to sit down and be like, I just want to read this book from beginning to end. And that's what happened with this one. And I think that's just a sign of a good thriller to me. I highly, highly recommend that book. Then, how dark do you want to... We'll end on vampires, because I think I've talked about my vampire books quite a bit. Oh, one more Dark Academia. Sorry, I have to do it. So, Catabasis. R.F. Kuang. Now, I've seen so many different opinions on this book. My 2 cents here is I freaking adored it. I loved it. So I have not read R.F. Kuang before. This is actually my first foray into her work. Now, after this, I may pick up Babel, because I've never really been that interested in the synopses, but this was basically 2 students, their professor dies in a spell gone wrong. His soul is now in hell, and they are going to hell to retrieve his soul. I mean, like, that was... Take my money, please. And I ended up absolutely loving this. This obviously takes a spin on the Divine Comedy. It talks a lot about all the different references in terms of all the poems and the books and the philosophers and all of that, talking about hell, the 7 circles of hell. I will also say one of my all-time favorite series, and it probably should have been in this video, but my fantasy series is Carrie Maniscalco's Kingdom of the Wicked, which is all set in hell. You have the 7 princes of hell, the 7 circles. And I just thought that this was phenomenal. Again, this I flew through. And I know some people say it's hard to understand. I don't agree with that. I think I understood it. I thought it was well written. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun. If you want some romance, if you want some Dark Academia for the spooky season, that's set in hell, I definitely recommend Catabasis. Except I don't know how to say it, so there you go. Now, let's talk about some of the dark. Can you handle it? So some of the more dark books that I have. So I wouldn't say these are the darkest, but they're definitely not fluffy. So the first one is Head Full of Ghosts. So we did My Best Friend's Exorcism. That's more fun possession. This is more possession. But I think this is phenomenal. This is Paul Tremblay, and again, I think this is Paul Tremblay's most superior work by far. Another hit or miss author for me, and one I've kind of given up on as well. But this book sits up there with one of my favorite reads of all time. It's right up there. This is about a girl whose sister claims to be possessed, and her parents do this weird thing of calling in a TV crew and being like, hey, let's do a reality show with our possessed daughter. And you go through this book and you're like, isn't she? Some of the scenes are super, like, think The Exorcist, right? It's so good. The twists and turns. So this is like a twisty thriller meets The Exorcist with some horror, with some reality TV. It's phenomenal. If you've not read it, highly recommend it, but it is darker. So if you can't like take horror, My Best Friend's Exorcism, if not, take that. That one's dark. Then another one that kind of plays with perception and reality and an unreliable narrator is this book. I don't think I've talked about this. If I have, let me know. But Caitlin R. Kiernan's The Drowning Girl. This is going to be another one of my reread books. I read this a number of years ago, and I went on a real Caitlin R. Kiernan kick. I read loads of her books, and I love them. Writes some really dark, messed up, almost cosmic style horror. Really strange, but this one is my favorite. This is about a woman who is a writer, I believe. Yeah. Her name is India, but they call her Imp. She has schizophrenia. And she goes out to this kind of cabin in the woods. I think she's there to write, I believe, if I remember correctly. But she starts to see weird things. She starts to remember things. She starts to sort of look outside of the cabin. And it's this kind of interesting discussion on, is it in her head? Bearing in mind she is also, clinically ill, or is something else going on out there? And I will say, I did say at the top of this video that nothing scares me. This is quite creepy. So coming from me, do with that what you will. Then, if you like kind of slightly grosser body horror, I would definitely recommend Crystal Sutherland's The Invocations. This is witchy as well. So this is about 3 girls that are all kind of on a mission. And it's to do with witchcraft. One of them actually sells kind of potions and like to help abused women. One of them made a deal and oh dear, her leg is literally rotting off. And the descriptions of the smell of her rotting flesh and, you know, in her quest to try and reverse this spell is, don't eat while you're reading this is all I'm going to say. There is a lot of that really. I think Crystal Sutherland does that really well. The writing's beautiful. The storyline's wonderful. Again, there's a thriller element to this. There's that kind of found family, the sapphic relationship in this. But oh my goodness, does she do the disgusting body horror bit well? And then talking about disgusting body horror, let's talk about people eating other people. So, oops, that was a... now that you can actually see the book the right way around, Poppy Z. Bright's Exquisite Corpse. Now, I have another Poppy Z. Bright book, which, you know, take a drink every time you hear me recommend H.D. Carlton or Lost Souls. So this one is about a gentleman who lives in New Orleans, who picks up young men, has his wicked way with them, and then has them for dinner. It's fantastic, but, you know, strong stomach on that one. And then Poppy Z. Bright's Lost Souls is one of my top 2 favorite books of all time. This is vampires, so we're getting into the vampires. This is 90s vampires, but desolate, dark, depressing, grimy, gritty, and it's the best vampire book ever written. Fight me. Then I'm going to talk about an author who I just adore, and we should call this section Karina Halley. Read her. But I picked up this one because I was just like, I love saying this, Death Valley by Karina Halley. This one is, if you want spooky cowboys, this is perfect. So if you like a bit of cowboy romance, but you're like thinking, I need to make it spook appropriate, pick up Death Valley. It's about a woman who's trying to trace the disappearance of her sister, which leads her to this ranch. And the guy that owns the ranch, he kind of does horse trails, and he was the last person she thinks that saw her sister. So she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister. And again, this is slightly based on the Donner Party. See how that ties in? And then if we go back to vampires, these 3 books. So we've got Black Sunshine, we've got Blood Orange, and we've got Nocturne. Now, these are all vampire-focused books. Both Black Sunshine and Blood Orange have second books in the series, which I'll be reading this year. Spooky season. Hint, hint, that's going on my TBR. And then Nocturne is a standalone. However, what was fun about Nocturne, because this is her latest release, that the characters from these 2 books actually show up here. So you don't need to have read them, but it's a nice Easter egg if you have. So if you've read, I think more people have definitely read, I think Black Sunshine is probably the most popular. Blood Orange is set in Venice at a music conservatory, and it's based on the guy that was apparently the inspiration for Vlad, for Dracula. It's really fun. And then this is set in San Francisco, and the love story in this is one of my favorite of all time, and it's witches and vampires. And then this one is set in the 40s. So this is like a cop noir, like a private investigator noir show, but with vampires. All 3 of these are incredible, and like I said, just read Karina Halley. Oh my god, I've got to put all these books back. Right, we're almost there. Do you want some more vampires? Right. On my continued mission to... Hang on. I'm the world's worst booktuber. Also, leave me a vampire emoji if you're still here. This is my continued mission to make everybody and their uncle read Lyndall Clipstone, because not enough people talk about her. Don't worry, there's going to be a whole video. This is one of my favorite books of all time as well. This is Unholy Terrors by Lyndall Clipstone, This is a different take on the vampire genre. This is very dark, very gothic, a beautiful love story that literally had me in bits and tears. And again, that is tough to do, trust me. And the vampires in this kind of almost, they're more wolf-like, if that makes sense. But it's about this town that is under siege, and these girls, there's many girls that kind of protect the town, and also they have this bone and blood magic, and it is like being in a dark fairy tale. This book is phenomenal, and I wish more people read it. But what I will say is it's probably an acquired taste, so I can just hear some people going, it was awful. And then also in my continued quest to make everybody read Alexis Henderson is The House of Hunger. I would have put The Year of Witching. Sorry, I completely forgot that book. So The Year of Witching by Alexis Henderson, under witches, phenomenal. This one is, again, one of my all-time favorite vampire books. And this is about this concept. It's a bit of a spin on Elizabeth Bathory. And you have these houses where our main character, I think she's called Elizabeth, Countess Elizabeth, she drinks blood. And you have, in this world, you have young women that basically join households to be blood maids. If you're squeamish in any way about blood or blood being drawn or needles, you want to stay well away from this book. Although, if you want to confront your fears, it is phenomenal. There's like a sapphic relationship in this, but just the beauty versus the darkness that Alexis Henderson creates, and this kind of layers of the story, and this sort of weird society and how these girls are treated, and then what is discovered in the end. It's just all I can say is just read it. And then last two, if you're still with me. These are my last two books. So these have been recent reads, both really beautiful editions, and I've loved both of these. So this is Kat Dunn's Hungerstone. I think a lot more people are now discovering Kat Dunn as an author, which I love. I was on a mission last year to get everybody to read Bitterthorn, which is going to be in my Dark Fairy Tale video, which is Kat Dunn's other book that I read first and I adored, but like no one was talking about it at the time. And then we've got this one. This was her release from this year, and this is a spin on the Carmilla tale. It's kind of, it also has some great kind of feminist discussions around women and what they hunger for, both physically, emotionally, mentally, and kind of the confines of society and how they think they should behave versus how they want to live their lives. But it's phenomenal. It's just so good. I mean, Kat Dunn's writing is wonderful, and again, I will now read anything Kat Dunn writes. And then you've got Briar Boland's On Wings of Blood. Again, I recently just finished this. Oh, it's so good. And so this is book 1 in the Bloodwing Academy. Luckily, book 2 is coming out in November, so that's quite good. So if you want to read this, you don't have to wait too long for the sequel, because it does end on somewhat of a cliffhanger. But this is, again, a kind of a blend of dark academia, vampires, and dragons. I mean, what more can you ask for? So our story here is that our main character gets discovered after sort of turning up under a bunch of dead warriors, and she doesn't really know how she got there, by this vampire lord in this world that is ruled by the vampires. She really doesn't know why she's there. And they take one look at her and go, you have dragon rider blood. And she's like, what the fuck, there's dragons? Apparently there's no more dragons. They have all died out, but she seems to be one of the last people that they've ever encountered with dragon rider blood. So she's sent off to the Bloodwing Academy to study with the vampires and also be betrothed to our dark vampire lord. It's a very fractious relationship, true hate to love to hate. There's even a game in here, the consort games, that she has to survive towards the end. It's phenomenal. It's so good. A lot of people talked about this and hyped it, and I was like, am I gonna like this? Yeah, if you want a new released vampire book that's super fun, and like I said, the cliffhanger is awesome, and I cannot, I'm gonna order the special edition. This is how much I liked it, of the second book as well, because this is the Waterstones, and it's I don't know if all of the editions are like this, but it's stunning. Yeah, read it. So that is kind of my starter pack. Let me know if you've liked that. Give me any recommendations. Like I said, I'm going to be doing loads of spooky season. So if you want anything specific, let me know. And I will speak to you all again very soon.